Gurmagat, Ceann Comhairle. I have to say I've watched these debates as a legislator and as a lawyer with much interest. And I'm always interested in how the Garda Síochána can be improved and how their efficacy can be enhanced. My grandfather was actually a member of An Garda Síochána, my father's father, so I have a particular affinity to them and I have an inordinate respect for them and the work they do on a daily basis. However, I do think that no organ of the state should be immune from criticism, whether it's constructive or otherwise. And we owe to the public and to the victims of crime to have a responsive, efficient police force that, of course, can investigate crimes properly. And I think in this particular instance, we owe most of our respect and our attention to the victims in this report. It is their particular experience of crime and their interactions with An Garda Síochána that are most deserving, in my view, of our focus. And I'm pleased that the O'Higgins report has made clear that both my former constituency colleague Alan Shatter and the Garda Commissioner acted appropriately. And I believe, however, that the focus of this report, as I said, has to now see how we can better serve victims of crime. I believe the central issues have been ignored by many contributions in this House. My focus is on the victims and on procedural errors in the investigations. There are 8 offences at the core of the report, 3 of them which are of a very grave nature, all of which happened in East Cavan in over a 10-month period in the year 2007. Namely an assault on a bus in February, an assault in a hotel in April, an assault on a taxi driver in April by a man who subsequently murdered a woman in Limerick, an assault in May in a pub in Ballyborough, the doctoring of vinegar in a cafe in Ballyborough in August with potential health consequences, an assault in September on a 17-year-old girl in Coot Hill, the reporting of about 35 offences occurring over a previous year in September by a paedophile priest, including a 15-year-old, and an assault by a motorist who ran over 3 people in December, which caused injury to these victims. And of these 8 offences, only 2 resulted in convictions, both being pleads of guilty. And I do not believe that many of these crimes were minor. As I said, 3 were of a very grave nature, and those that were minor could have had very serious consequences. And I'm sure some of the victims still bear the scars emotionally and physically from these events. And there's a common thread running through the report which was not being well served by the Gardaí, and I think it would be useful and a better service to the victims for Commissioner O'Sullivan to address whether this is an issue and to address if and where significant changes have happened to address these matters. And a number of the recommendations in the report are in fact focused on this. It would appear that there are some under the misapprehension in this House that a lack of resources was an issue at the time, and we have to remember that in 2007, in theory anyway, it was a time of plenty before the economy crashed and Garda numbers actually stood at 14,000. But we weren't in government at that particular time, and we have responded to protect whistleblowers, but I believe the focus must also, as I said, be on protecting the victims. The issues that repeat themselves consistently in the report concern proper investigation, and we know them: inadequate note-taking, taking statements which are frequently undated from a random sample of relevant witnesses, recording potentially serious offences in pulse as minor, poor practices with available CCTV, mislaying vital evidence, in particular the computer in a sex abuse case, citing the wrong sections in charges and in search warrants, and poor supervision. And I would like to know if these areas have or are being examined and how we can improve them. As we know, organisations like Victims Support and Advic that represent the needs of the families of victims of homicide repeatedly stress the need for victims to be listened to and for proper procedures to be followed in investigations. And these are the core concerns of the O'Higgins report, in my view. I have raised these matters in parliamentary questions and I look forward to them being addressed, and I feel it would be very useful to understand what steps have been taken to address these general issues. As a citizen, I hope that these issues are historic and that victim concern and proper process are now central to how the Gardaí operate. And I look forward to examining how we can respond better to victims of crime, and we owe them at least that, of course. Gurmagat, Ceann Comhairle.